Hi, everybody. I have already recorded this podcast. And then I watched it back. There's something across the camera that I didn't realise that the whole time I'm chittering away, there's just something here. Like, just something sitting there. So here I am again, re-recording the podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Laaleebee Knits. Feels like long time no see. If you're new here, I'm Natalie. I am a knitter based in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I'm a bit scatterbrained this morning. I'm tired. I look tired because I am tired. It has been 2 weeks since my last yarny confession, and what a 2 weeks it has been. It has been busy. There have been last minute dentist appointments that have not been fun. But what has been the biggest event of the last few weeks is that my best friend got married. And she got a beautiful day for it. So we drove down the day before to the venue because we had full use of the spa. So Neil and I drove down the day before and it was pouring with rain. Pouring. Couldn't see the road markings while we were driving down, and it's a 2-hour drive. So if you're familiar with Northern Ireland, you will know that you probably can't drive longer than 2 hours without still being in the country. We're very small. And it was on the other side of the country, but we arrived alive and we got checked in and it was a beautiful hotel. We went swimming, we used the sauna and the hot tub, and it was just so relaxing. The wedding day itself was beautiful. The sun was splitting the trees. The grounds were so stunning. It's on a lake with lots and lots of trees changing colour in the autumn along the background. It was just the perfect day. It was so beautiful. I'm so delighted for it. I gave a little speech at dinner, which went down well. David's mum had me crying when she gave her speech, so tears all round all day, but it was so great. A really lovely, lovely wedding to celebrate two really, really beautiful people. So that was lovely. That happened over just the weekend before Halloween, and we drove down on Halloween in the midst of storms. I think I drove through a flooded roundabout, which wasn't ideal, but by the time I'd driven through it, I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But anyway, we got home safe and sound. My friend Sheila was looking after Henry while we were away, and Sheila is so great with dogs. I knew that Henry would have the best time. Didn't realise that Henry would not want to come home. Like, quite literally. Was quite happy to stay there with Sheila forever. Henry's, as you know, is a schnauzer, and schnauzers are yappy, and when anybody comes to the door they're barging and shouting at whoever's there. Well, we came to Sheila's door and Sheila said to him, "Somebody's here to see you." Did he get up? No, he did not. Did he open one eye to see who it was and then go back to sleep? So I came in, I could see him through the crack of the door, and he was just like settled in. He was on an armchair, on a dog bed, on a silky blanket that he sleeps on. So he was not for moving. And I came round the corner and was like, "Hello?" And he looked at me like, "You've returned. Get up. Come see your mother." So he did get excited then. We stayed for a little coffee and I said to him, "Go back into your wee bed and sit down." Because he was just kind of standing on me. So I was like, "Go back in your wee bed." So he went back into his bed, settled himself down and stared lovingly at Sheila, not his mama. So he was not delighted to come home, but he came around eventually. He was spoiled rotten. Sheila took him out for a puppuccino. He was on his best behaviour. He got scrambled eggs, a little slice of sourdough, mashed potato, little side of salmon, just spoiled rotten. so he was very well taken care of. So we came back from the wedding and I went straight into a really hectic work week. We had some of the team over from Kent, and we were doing a little bit of public speaking, which is always a little bit nerve-wracking, but it went really well. We were introducing the research project that we are working on, and I was talking a little bit about the anthology of religious texts that I'm editing. So yeah, it all went well. We went for a really nice dinner afterwards. Yeah, a lot of early starts, late finishes. Not very much knitting time. But realistically, Thursday was the first day I'd been in my house since the week before. So that's not like me at all. I'm a homebody. I like to be at home. I don't like to be out. I find it very draining to be around people all day. So I am very much an introvert, and I think the pandemic solidified that for me. So not that it, I enjoyed having them over, and I really enjoyed getting into the work, but it was tiring, and I am tired now, and it shows. So yeah, that's been the last couple of weeks. Like I say, I haven't had a huge amount of knitting time, because I hit a big deadline the day before we went to the wedding, and then it's been full on ever since. Now I have another big deadline for the last week of November. So I'm still in the throes of crazy work this at the minute. And my mum's getting married, so we've got her hen do coming up. I went to get my last dress fitting done yesterday for my bridesmaid's dress. So it's just been all about, it's just been busy. But I sat down last night after a little nap, and thought to myself, my knitting is everywhere. I have so many whips. As you know, I've been casting on socks willy-nilly. So many whips. I need to get this under control and figure out where I am, because it all just started to feel overwhelming. So, as you might have gathered, I am a nerd. A devilish nerd. So I like to plan things. I'm a Virgo. I like to be organised. So what I did was I have a little bullet journal, and I just kind of marked out exactly what knitting I have left to do as a wee kind of motivator. So I'll talk a wee bit about that in a minute. But what I did was I gathered all of my sock projects and all my little projects into this basket, which I got from TK Maxx. It's just a little, well, it's actually quite a big basket. Gathered them all into there. I usually keep a sweater project in that, but I just had so many little projects that I was like, put it in there, don't think about it. So I figured out what needed to be done with everything. My sisters are FaceTiming me, go away. I hope I'm still recording. But anyway, I had to figure out what needed to be done and everything, and lots of them just had little things to do. So I have some finished objects, because I sat last night and just worked my way through. I didn't have to think too much, which was nice. So without further ado, let's get my finished objects. First up, I've got my sock blocker from Beehive Yarns. First up is my spooky sock. Did I finish these in October? No, I did not. Did I finish anything in October? No, I did not. There was not as much knitting at the wedding as I thought there might be. There was just a lot of running around having to sort things out, which is to be expected anyway when your best friend gets married. These are my spooky socks. This light is coming in and trying to ruin my day. These are my spooky socks. I just came up with a little motif. Looks a little stretched out here. Little skull motif. It'll look a bit better once I block them properly. Mary Claire, I think, is the girl from Lonely Mountain Yarns. She was asking on her Instagram stories what a good beginner colourwork sock project would be, and I had suggested doing something like this. where you find a motif and do it along the ankle of your sock, because when people knit colour work, especially if they're new knitters, and I'm still guilty of this, it's easy to make your colour work tighter. I went up a needle size and it still was tighter. So this part of your sock you want to be tight so that it doesn't slip down your foot anyway. So I think that's a good way to do colour work socks. You don't want to knit a full sock and then realise that it doesn't fit, which is what I've done from experience. So that's a good little tip if you want to start colour work. They do look a little squished. They look better on this one. So I have my little pair of shorties. Just avoid that sun. First finished object. Very pleased to have those off the needles. And even though it's unseasonable now, because as we all know we should be into Christmas, I shall still be wearing these because they're very cute. And they are autumnal, the colours are very autumnal. This is Biff Sugar Yarns in, I want to say Bewitched. Pretty sure. And then this is Giddy Aunt Yarns, I think it's Grimhilda, something like that. It's a beautiful navy and purple and rich. Very good. No, it's not even very good, it's tonal colour, which I love. We have a little end to sew in, I'll show you those. So that's my first finished object. Second finished object is another pair of socks. And you will have seen these. These aren't new cast-ons, but they were languishing in my whip pile for a long time. These are my Selfie Socks. You might remember I test knit this pattern, and I did finish one sock for the test knit and sent my notes. So not too bad, but I didn't finish the second sock. This is my first DK sock pattern. So we have a little bit of twisted rib, a little bit of lace, a little bit of cabling. This is a short row heel that is included in the pattern, which I've never done before and love. First DK pattern. I used a 3mm needle. I have to say it hurt my hands a little bit more than knitting finger weight socks. And I think it's to do with the bigger needles and the tight gauge. I just felt my hands cramping a little more. I'm being very blown out here. But, yeah, I felt my hands cramping a little more when I was knitting this. But I think that's just one of those things. My hands aren't used to knitting DK socks. So I've got both of those done. Let me have a little sip. It feels like I'm probably going to get sick, but let's hope not. I shall keep my lurgy to myself if so. So I've got my little socks. They look very small, but they fit. I am a size 5.5 in UK, and I have about 42 grams left of 100 gram skein. This yarn is Pixie yarn in their Busy Bee colourway. I got this last year in kind of springtime. I just like the little soft speckles. But yeah, I have about 42 grams left of that 100 gram skein, which is pretty impressive. They're not blocked. I need to block them. I'm terrible for that. But I did just finish them last night because I was like, I don't have anything to show my friends. I need to finish things. So, another little pair of socks. Very cute. And then I have two hose. If you don't know what a hoe is a half object. So the first is, you will have seen last time I cut in my afterthought heel. I think people find that helpful to see how actually easy it is to do it. I think once you see somebody do it, it's much easier than just like reading theoretically how to do it. These are what I'm calling my little turret socks because I feel like they look like castles. These are by, the yarn is Biff Sugar Yarns again. I think the colourway is Far Away, and this is a little Cascade mini. I just made this pattern up. It's a little garter rib stitch here, a little picot bind, picot cuff, and then a little contrast heels and toes. In their socks, so Biff Sugar did a sock set for this, and they paired it with a navy, and it totally changed the feel of the sock. You definitely got more of a moody tone with the navy. The lavender gives it a completely different feel, like a kind of spring type sock. So I got one of those done. The picot bind off is pretty simple to do. You just stitch it down. It's an interesting construction. So that's all stitched down in there. I did that while I was watching The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I saw a bit of trash TV yesterday. So that is one sock done. I have not cast the other one on, which is a tip. If you don't want to get second sock syndrome, cast the other one straight away. I have not done that. So we'll see if that gets done. And then my last hoe, which technically isn't a hoe because he doesn't have a heel, is my stripy Halloween-ish socks. They're not too Halloweeny. The orange and green definitely lends itself to Halloween. This variegated colour is Pixie Horn again, Trick or Treat. Chloe gave me half of hers again after she had finished with it. And this neon orange is from Couponnets that I got in Hanks. And then I just paired it with a little pink mini that I had kicking about. So I love a little sock, a little stripy sock. And I was feeling a wee bit of withdrawal from them because I always have stripy socks on the go. I find them motivating. Now this is only 2 colours. I actually like how it looks on the inside as well. And I'll show you my little floats. I never cut my yarns if I'm doing stripy socks, especially if it's only 2 colours. I will just pull, let the yarn float behind. You don't want that to be too tight, obviously, but you also don't want it to be too loose because it'll make the stitch too elongated. But anyway, I also do the weave in Steve in every time I do a stripy sock. So if I was doing a mini skein set that you did have to cut your yarn or add new yarns all the time, I do the weave in Steve in, which is what this looks like. I can link that down below. You just weave it as you go and then snip it off, and that's your ends all taken care of, and it's very speedy. And otherwise I would never sew in another end, to be quite frank. So, little stripy sock. Let me have a little zip. I forgot to say what I was wearing. This is my Birkin jumper from Caitlin Hunter. It's knit out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft. Can't remember the colours. It's definitely cast iron. This is some sort of harvesty greeny gold, and then there are 3 greys in this part: light grey, medium grey, and a dark grey. I didn't even take inspiration from it. I copied exactly the colours of a girl on Instagram called Gara Knits, I think her name is. Gara. Oh, terrible pronunciation. But her colour sense is stunning. And I did this exactly the way she did. So, thank you very much to her. Credit where it's due. Okay, so I can feel myself getting a little bit sniffly, but we power through. So I have a entirely new whip to show you. I'm very excited about it. I was going to wait because the yarn came in new, but it's a present and I've quite a bit of gift knitting to do, and I needed to get it started. So I ordered some skeins from Life in the Long Grass from their own website. You can also get it on Stephen and Penelope. They have a pretty, is it Stephen and Penelope? Yes, they have a pretty good amount there. And also I think Lip London is another one that I would order from quite frequently. But these are my colours. So this is for my Granda's Coil. And this colour is called Barn. It's a red, but it's leaning orangey brown rust. It's a beautiful, really interesting colour. And this one is called Dough. Now, Grandeur used to be a baker, so he had to have that colour. He wanted red, and I was looking through what contrast colours he could have, and doe had to be it. So I'm knitting Grandeur, the duotone coil. I think it's a free pattern. I've knit it before. Here it is. So this is knit in the round. This is a provisional cast on, so ignore the blue. Let's remove that. You can see my beginning of round with my stripes. That doesn't bother me. Well, it bothers me if I think about it too much. But I think when I block it, I'm going to block it where I just tug it into place. So it kind of disguises it. It didn't bother me enough to try and faff about with helical knitting, and I just knit it. It's a nice mindless knit. And to be honest, the week I had was not for mindful knitting. So that is the duotone coil. You start off in this pattern, and then halfway you switch to the other side. And then what happens is you knit it in the round, so you have 2 layers of fabric, and you knit round, and then you Kitchener stitch them together. And that way you have a nice, effectively a 4-layer coil. I've knit this before for Grandeur, and he loved it and wanted another one. He's also getting a wee bit forgetful now, so he forgot that he had asked for it. So if he's forgotten again, then it'll be a nice wee surprise for him. I'm knitting this on a 5mm needle, and it's a nice loose gauge. This DK yarn, you could probably go a smaller needle if you wanted a denser fabric, but it's very stretchy, very nice. And the yarn feels beautiful. I love the tonality of Life in the Long Grass. What I will say is that when I knit with the red, I get a little red line on my finger, and I thought maybe I was stressed and holding the yarn too tight, but it's not. It is the dye coming off. So I'm going to have to be very careful when I block this to put in a little colour catcher sheet and maybe a splash of vinegar, just to make sure the colour doesn't bleed too much in. And I have noticed that with Life in the Long Grass before. I had ordered a nice dark navy from them, and while it's beautiful, the dye tends to mark your finger, which means that it would run when I wash it. So I shall just keep that in mind whenever I'm coming to block it. But this is nearly done. It reminds me of the colours I've picked, remind me of like traditional shortbread. Lovely. Giddy Aunt Yarns did a shortbread sock set a couple of Christmases ago, and it was honestly the most beautiful Christmas yarn I've ever bought. Their mini was kind of like this, but it also had flashes of dark green, you know, like that tartan, like a little tartan tin you would get of Scottish shortbread. And I think about that every year, and I'm like, I wish they would do it again, but I think it was a really difficult colour to dye. But this reminds me of shortbread. So I might get him a little tin of shortbread to go on with it. And no, don't tell Grandma this, sisters, if you're watching, but I will have yarn left over. And I think what I might do is knit Henry a little matching one and pop it in with Granda's present. Granda's obsessed with the dogs. He loves them more than he loves his grandchildren, and that's okay. We've come to terms with it. He just dotes on the dogs. And I think if I wrap that up and wrap up a little one for Henry as well for him that he can put on Henry, I think he would love that. So that's the plan for those. I don't know how happy Henry will be with having a coil, but we shall see. Granda will be delighted either way. So that's Granda's present. The only other thing that I've made a little bit of progress on since last time is my Alpenglow sweater. Finally, I have bound off the bottom. I've never done this twisted rib. I'll show you this all before. This is an Andrea Mowry pattern. I've knit it out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft again. It's written for sport weight, but the Brooklyn Tweed is I'm getting gauge with the Brooklyn Tweed with the same yarn, with the same needles. So, good. It's one that is the way that it's spun. It's kind of thick and thin sometimes. but it'll expand out and it'll fill in, and it's kind of the it's the perfect gauge for it. So this is also in Brooklyn Tweed Loft. This is cast iron, camphor, ember and tallow. Well done me. So I finished my body. I should have done it calls for, I think it's an I-cord bind off or some sort of nicer bind off, or you can bind off in pattern, which is what I did, but I regret it now, but at the time I was like, I'm not doing it. So you get a far nicer finish when you bind off the other bind off, but I did not do it. And in all honesty, I do not see myself picking it up and redoing it, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll have a little afternoon where I just have nothing to do, which won't happen this side of Christmas, but maybe in the new year. But either way, this one is taking a back seat now, which I'm very sad about because I want it. I want to wear it. I've started my sleeves, but I need to knit my granny her jumper, and this boyo needs to go to the side for now because I have priorities. So maybe December will be the month that I truck through that. I'm also working away on my What the Fade Shawl. I figured out that a couple of days ago I had 62 garter bumps still to do before it's finished, which is a lot. So I've committed to doing one garter bump every night before bed, which is kind of a way of me slowing down, getting off my phone. But it means it'll be finished kind of early January. So I marked that out visually in my bullet journal because I am a nerd and I wanted to. I just find it motivating ticking things off, and yeah, I like stuff like this. I like being able to see visually. It helps me not be overwhelmed with my knitting, and it's been quite an overwhelming few weeks with work, and with lots of different stuff, that's lots of different commitments that I have, and just life in general. It's just been a bit overwhelming, and my knitting was getting out of hand, so I took a few moments to just sort that out, get it straight in my mind, and that helped a lot. So still patching away at that, all good. Is that all my knitting? Why did I talk like that? That's all my knitting. I have a couple of acquisitions, and then I want to talk to you about a little make along, and then that's me. So I was very good the last 2 weeks, in that I only bought a little tiny bit of yarn. Well, I did say last time I'm really going to try not to buy yarn, and then I finished recording the podcast and then I went and bought more yarn, but couldn't resist. So anyway, I had lost, last time I was talking to you, I had lost my 2.75mm needles. I have since found them, but that day I went to Hanks to pick up a pair, and I also picked up a little sock ruler from Hanks, which I've been meaning to pick up for a while. I don't know if you've seen these before. You basically pop your sock in, well, not really work on this one, you do it before you do your toe. You pop your sock in from your heel, if you're doing a heel. Pop your heel in here and you knit until you get to where you need to go. So you can just pop it in, see if you've reached there, and then you can start your toe. So it's very handy. It's got all the shoe sizes along there as well, and it's got a little needle gauge that you typically use for socks. The other thing is, I need to sand it down a little bit. It's a little rough on my socks, so I need to give it a little sand and maybe a little gloss just to stop it from catching on my socks. But very handy little tool. Very happy with that. Love supporting Hanks. So they bought that day, and then Mary Claire, I think that's her name, is a local dyer. She dyes under Lonely Mountain Yarns. Look at this tag, by the way. Oh, I'm trying not to show you the yarn before. Look at that beautiful tag. Gorgeous. Love it. I'm not a Tolkien fan, so I did not get the reference, but my friend let me know that it's a reference to The Hobbit, and she was delighted. And she's going to learn to knit, but she's not a knitter yet, so she was drooling over the little tags. But anyway, I picked up 2 skeins from Lonely Mountain Yarns, and this is the first one. This one is called Merlin's Beard, and I love it. I had to have it. I'm a medievalist. Anytime yarn has a medievalish type of name, I need it. So, Merlin's Beard. It does give me Disney vibes as well, with Disney's Merlin. But I love this. It doesn't necessarily need to be Halloween. I love a little 50-gram sock set with a 20-gram mini because it's a perfect amount for full-length socks for me. And I hate having waste. And it's a really good price point. So, Merlin's Beard. I think she has a few left in her shop. And then I got my first Christmas yarn purchase this year. This is Jolly Holly. And it looks pretty good there, but in real life, this is so rich. Look at the little Christmas bow. What's up for me? Like, yes. It was like, I'm making a specific set for Natalie, who I don't know. This is for her. Just stunning. Really rich colours. Really tonal. Beautiful skin. And I love, like, red is hard to dye, and it's hard to get a good red. Those are gorgeous. So that's a very local dye to me. She's in Belfast, which is very nice. I love supporting little local makers. So, Lonely Mountain Yarns. Love these. Love these. I might cast this one on as my first, like, December Christmas sock. I was going to say the 1st of December, but that's my wee mum's wedding day, so I don't think I'll be casting socks on that day. But maybe on the 2nd, these will be my little Christmas socks for December. They just make me think of, like, Home Alone and sitting being cozy, watching cozy Christmas movies, and I just love the gold sparkle. I actually have a gold sparkly yarn that maybe I could do a little touch of colour work with, just to bring that gold sparkle in. Love. Love, love, love. And those were my only yarn purchases in 2 weeks because she was busy and didn't have time. But I still think that's very well done to me. Still haven't opened my advent calendar. I'm very surprised. I did nearly order another advent calendar. Pixie Yarn is the advent calendar that I have. Botanical Yarns have a Notions yarn? No, a Notions advent calendar. And she stocks beautiful notions. She's got twill and print, she's got thread and maple, chow goo, cocoa knits, trinkles, lots of great stuff, and all of that's in the advent calendar. But it was £160, and I've already got an advent calendar, and I've got a beauty advent calendar, and it's just a bit greedy. So I resisted. But I will be following to see what people got, and crossing my fingers that there might be one left in January. But I resisted. I was very good. Well, I said to myself, if I buy that, I'm not allowed to buy any Christmas skeins. And Bird Street Yarns Christmas skeins are beautiful and sold out very quickly. So I'm going to have to keep my eye on their shop update, which is coming in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. I love a Christmas yarn. So that, I think, is everything from me. My knitting plans are to knit my granny's jumper. I'm going to knit her the Jessie May Designs Cozy Classic Raglan Light in, I'll show you the yarn, in Cascade Heritage. This is just called grey, but it's a blue toned grey. I've shown this to Vera. She likes it. It's definitely something she would wear. This is a 75-25. I've got 4 skeins, which will be plenty for Vera because I've knit myself one out of 4 skeins, and I think I'm 2 or 3 sizes bigger than her. So this is for Vera. We've got plenty of yarn. It's all stash yarn, which is nice. Cascade is a good budget yarn if you want to make a fingering weight jumper. I think it's maybe £7 or £8 a skein. But it pills like crazy. I took my depiller to my one, and it did transform it, and it does look good as new, but it's just something to keep in mind. You will need to depill it when it comes to wearing it for any length of time. That was my shoulder. Don't know if you heard that click. That's a sign that I need a cup of coffee and a little break. But anyway, last thing I wanted to talk about was the We Share Needles girls. I'm sure you've seen their podcast. If you haven't, go and watch it. They are hilarious. They make me roar with laughter every time I watch them. They just are so funny and cheeky, and I love them. And they are doing a make-along. And their make-along is to support local brick-and-mortar yarn stores. Now you can order online. If you don't have a local yarn store, you can order online. Go and watch their latest episode because they give all the details. But essentially, on Small Business Saturday, which is the Saturday after Black Friday, November 26th this year, I think, is our cast on date, where we cast on anything with yarn that we've bought from one of our local yarn stores. And I think that's a really great idea. So I will be joining in. They're going to have a Ravelry page. I think I would encourage you to join in too. You can't, whips aren't allowed because the idea is to get you to go and purchase something from your local yarn store. So I have 3 that I know of that are local to me that I'm gonna support. The first one being, of course, Hank's Yarn Parlour. I think I have DK yarn in stash from them that I bought recently, but I will go in and have a little nosy in case there's anything else that I would like to knit from them. So Hank's Yarn Parlour is on either the Craiga Road or the Castlereagh Road. I get them mixed up, but they're in Belfast. Second one in Belfast is Folklore Yarns, which is near Connswater, over in East Belfast as well. They've just got in a new, to them, local dyer, Dye Candy. They've got some new stock in of hers, so I'm definitely going to have to go and have a little look. But they're another great yarn store that I love going into, so I'll have to go into there. And the other one is Lighthouse Yarns in Whitehead, which is about 40-minute drive outside of Belfast. So yeah, 3 local yarn stores. I'm going to go have a little nosy round them, see what I can get, and cast something on Small Business Saturday with everybody. So I would really encourage you to join in that make along. It sounds like it's a great idea. I love it. Go and have a look at the We Shine Needles girls and their latest podcast, because they've got the info on it. And they're hilarious. Like, their laughter is infectious. At one point, Kristen just starts kind of lounging about the place like a cat, and I'm like, of course. Of course. So yeah, I think that's everything for me. Second time recording that little podcast. Hopefully I'm not recording it again, so hopefully it worked. My plan is to clean my house because it looks like a bomb has hit it. That bomb being me. So I'm going to clean my house, and then I'm going to get myself a little coffee, and I'm going to cast on my granny's jumper this afternoon. I'm going to cast it on. I'm going to try and get to splitting for sleeves so that most of it is just plain sailing, knitting the whole way along. I have a busy week coming up. I have a busy till Christmas coming up. But yeah, wish me luck. I hope you have a lovely week or two, depending on when I'm back. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate the feedback and the little community we're starting to build here. It's so lovely seeing the same names pop up again and again, saying that they're enjoying the podcast. I really appreciate that. And I didn't get to reply to very much from the last podcast, but I will go into that this afternoon. So it is Sunday here. I'm going to get Big Fella to edit podcast this evening, and hopefully it'll be up for Monday. So with that, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.